Hello, you find me unshaven, tousle-haired, and just generally dishevelled amongst big piles of boxes. Oh, it's not a tripod, this is a step ladder. Big piles of boxes, they just keep going on and on and on. And in all these boxes are books. Now, I've been getting into a little, YouTube rabbit hole, as they call it, about, overconsumption. And as I sit here with my big boxes of books and my piles and things, yes, I have rather overconsumed books. In fact, I have about 3,100 books. I've collected, I suppose, over my lifetime. Quite a few of the books are from when I was a child, though. I did have a big clear out of my childhood books at one point. And actually, I miss them, and I wish I hadn't got rid of them. Yes, I have too many books. I'm reading about all this overconsumption. Not reading. I've been reading books, but watching videos about all this overconsumption. It has sort of, I suppose, not called me out, but sort of spoken to me a little. So yeah, I thought I'd have a little talk about it and about my, I suppose, purchasing habits and my organising habits and what it's like to have all these books and why I have them and that sort of thing. One of the videos I watched, the person was looking at somebody's home library and saying, well, that person must have about 2,500 books. You wouldn't ever need all them. Imagine moving house. Well, I know what it's like moving house because I have moved house twice within the last year and a half. Once towns, I moved from London to where I am now, but to a different building where I stayed for 6 months, and then I bought this house and I was scraping it, and you've seen it, I've been scraping it and getting it plastered and doing it up, and now I'm here and it's time to set up my library. One of the reasons I bought a whole house as a single person is simply because I have so many books, and I've always wanted to have them displayed and on the wall and all of that kind of thing. So it's always been a bit of a wish of mine, and so here we are. And it's not easy moving all those books. I had to get proper big expensive moving vans, which as a single person you probably shouldn't need a whole huge moving van to move, but with all these from a practical level, these sorts of boxes here I found were the best. They're all old paper boxes from work. I work at school, and so those sort of boxes are really stackable, and they have a good weight, size to weight ratio. You can get a good amount of books in them, but then you can sort them out, all of that. I packed them all by size to get the most out of the space, so now I've got to rearrange them all into different genres and different sections, and I'll talk a bit more about what my plans for that are later. I've always been a bit of a not hoarder, but I've always liked collections, I suppose you could call it. When I was a teenager, I was really, really into music. I still like music. I still have my CDs and I listen to my CDs. I actually have more CDs than books, but they take up less space. And now I kind of wish I had known that as an adult, I'd be in a time when music was so much just easier to get hold of. But it does mean, one, as I say, I still listen to all my CDs, and it does mean in owning those things, when it's not available anymore, it's still available to me because I've got it. I actually own it. I haven't subscribed to it. Similar, I've been going back watching a lot of my old DVDs. I had a time when I watched quite a few films and things. Ended up with a lot of DVDs. And the thing about that, with all those DVDs, is that I don't have Netflix and I don't have those sorts of subscription services. And so now I just go back and rewatch a lot of the old favourites, which is quite nice. And it's the same with the music, you know. I still do come across new music. You know, I quite like Bandcamp. And also on Bandcamp you can buy CDs that directly support your favourite artists. So I still actually do buy some CDs if I really like the artist. And it means that no matter what weird business deals happen with subscriptions, you still get to keep it. And I like that. I think that's good fun. And there's a bit of that with the book thing. You know, you've got all these books and you've got all these books, and it means that they can't be taken away from you like they could with a Kindle. One of the things that people keep saying on these videos is, why don't you just go to the library? And I get that. I'm a big fan of libraries. I spent a lot of my childhood at a library. I'm definitely not anti-library. However, where I've moved to now, the library system consists of 3 libraries. Oh, computer problem. There we go. Where I live now, the whole system consists of 3 libraries, and so their selection isn't great. I mean, it's big because, you know, they've got the collective bargaining power of a library, but it's not great, and especially because my big thing is 18th century, as you can tell by the channel. My personal library is much more geared towards the things I'm interested in, and so what I'm doing now is I'm picking out all the 18th century books out of here, and I'm putting them in my bedroom at the moment, but I'm going to have my living room as my 18th century room. It's going to have all my 18th century books in, from the 18th century, and then books about 18th century and biographies and things. And so that is very specifically catered to my interests, but then I get random other stuff too, like Macaque, for example, which was just a very silly sounding novel that sounded fun, which I haven't actually read yet. And so there's that too. So it's, yeah, it's more tailored to my interests, I suppose. The other thing is, expense wise, I'm not a rich person. I never have been. I probably never will be. But picking up books is quite a cheap hobby, to be honest. And you know, there's that cliche about, oh, buying books is a different hobby to reading them. I think it is in some ways. There's the fun of the chase, as it were. I mean, I love it when I go into a charity shop and I see something that has been on my mind. Oh, I've been wanting to get that for a while, and there it is, and that is kind of exciting. Oh, there you go there. And so there is that involved as well. This is very rambly. I thought I'd be a bit more structured than this. In terms of, as they say, TBR, to be read, I've got a pretty consistent level of 60% of the books I own I've read and 40% I haven't, which does mean that there are over 1,000 books amongst all these I haven't read, which is pretty crazy, really, when you think about it. I'll review later. Pretty crazy when you think about it, but it's because one of the exciting things about having all these books is they represent a potential. So you go to your bookshelves and you think, right, what adventure am I going to be on now? And that's I go to a lot of charity shops. I pick up a lot of them for £1. I used to live near a very good book swap. Well, I call it a book swipe. And some of my favourite books that I've read were from here, that I discovered just because I saw it and thought, well, let's give that a whack. And so, yeah, I've got too much here. I'm probably never going to be able to read all these in my life, especially if I keep getting more. My sort of consumption of books has gone down since I've moved here, partly because that book swap isn't there, and partly because there aren't any second-hand bookshops in the town, and the charity shops, they're mainly sort of books people read around here, obviously, don't seem to be the kind I like, so they're mainly like family sagas and thrillers and things, and so my consumption has gone down. But even at my biggest consumption, I mean, that was a free one, that was a charity shop, that was a charity shop, that was a charity shop, ooh, that was a charity shop, that my dad gave me, that was from a book swap, that was from, oh dear, kid, Portobello Road, for, it was £2 I think. And so, you know, it's not like I've bankrupt myself, but what I have done is I've created this huge weight of things, weight of objects, and sometimes I do think, you know, surely I'm better than that to laden myself down with this huge weight of objects. But it does give me a lot of pleasure. Just doing this, sorting through them, seeing some of these have been in a box for over a year, and just seeing them again and going, oh yeah, that one, I enjoyed that one, or oh yeah, that one, I'm looking forward to that one. There's a few of these I've put just to the side because I'm like, oh, I actually want to read that one soon. And that's exciting. And also, I'm going to set up a home library in which most of my home is going to be a library. So I've got my 18th century books going to be in my front room, and depending on the space, there'll be maybe books set in the 18th century, or I'll go back to the 17th century, do a sort of early modern front room. My dining room, which is where there's going to be a big bookcase, well, a big case with all my CDs in, is also going to be where all my books about music and art, architecture, and TV and scripts. So that's all going to be there. My bedroom's going to be children's books, poetry, and maybe some non-fiction. And then this room is going to be 20th, 21st, and I guess 19th century fiction, principally. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I'm actually repacking some of these into boxes that I can put in a cupboard around the corner to clear the space, to set up the room, to know how many bookcases I need to buy in order to get them out and put them on, and I'll have to sort them out by author, and I'm going to enjoy the whole process. That's a fun process, and then when it's done, I'm going to have something that to me is beautiful and to me is useful. Useful to have it all around. One of the weird things I've found living without being surrounded by books, in my bedsit, you'll have seen in my old videos, the big wall of books behind me. One of the things without that is, one, I miss them. I sort of like, I feel like I've been camping for a few years because I've not been surrounded by books, but also my recall of the books is not as good. And it's weird, just seeing the title and the thing recalls the book for me. And so the stuff I've read more recently has actually lingered in my head less. And I don't know if that's the only reason, or if, you know, I've been dividing my attention a lot. I've been doing all this DIY and painting and all of this, and the faff of buying a house, and I've been in plays, and I've been starting a new job and all this sort of stuff. So I guess there's a lot of other contributing factors to that. But in general, I found when the books are around, I recall them better. so I actually get more out of the books I've read by having them on the shelf. And then also having them all on the shelf just gives me that full panoply, that wonderful choice of, right, what adventure is next. And the fact is, because I've bought so many of these books very, very cheaply, unless it's a particular author I like and I want to support generally, or I don't even buy many books online anymore, unless they're very specific. Usually if they're an academic book about something in particular, that's when I'll buy it online, because the chances of just coming across it by accident are less. And so that whole thing just means that for £1 or £2 or for free, £1 now is not far off the price of a much smaller than it used to be chocolate bar, which is only going to make me fat and is not going to last me very long. Whilst a book, that lasts a week, 2 weeks. That's some solid pleasure for your quid, I find. One of the reasons I bought so many books is actually I used to have to pay my rent in cash. It wasn't dodgy, maybe, but I used to have to pay my rent in cash, and the cash ended in a £5, and you don't often get £5s, I find. And so I'd have my tenner and I'd go into the charity shop and I'd get a book for £1, and then I'd have my £4 coins, which I'd put in the electricity meter, and then I'd have my rent, and that was part of my routine, I suppose. I will do a little video about how I've organised all these books once I've done it. So what I'm doing now, I'm plucking out all the 18th century ones to go in my bedroom. Then I'm going to go through them. I'm going to rebox all the 20th, 21st century and 20th and 21st century fiction in these boxes, and I'm going to write on them now, because I didn't write them before because it was just by size. I'm going to write on them now, and I'm going to stack them, and then all the 19th century books, write on them, stack them, all the non-fiction, non-fiction and things like that. And hopefully it will mean that when the space is organised, I can just get them out, sort out the authors and whack them up. The big problem I'm having with this plan at the moment is no one wants to put up the shelves. So I've got bookcases. I'm probably going to get some more bookcases, but also it's an old house. It's got chimney breast in it, and in this room there's one chimney breast that I can get shelved, and in my bedroom there's another. In the front room there's two, and then the one for the CDs in the living room. They need to be very strong for all these books. And I don't trust my carpentry skills. I've been doing quite a lot of the DIY, especially considering I've lived in rented houses and I've never had a chance to learn any of these skills. Now I'm learning how to paint and how to polyfiller and how to drill and how to, I'm learning a lot of skills here, but I'm not confident enough in my ability to make solid enough shelves for all the books. And the whole wall-to-ceiling shelf with all my books in it was almost part of the point of getting a house for me, so I want it done properly. And I keep getting ghosted by joiners. No one wants to do it. I think because when I go, right, I've got lots and lots of books I want to put up, they're not confident about doing it, maybe. I don't know, but I've been ghosted by so many carpenters and joiners. Well, 4 now. 4. And I can't really unpack my house. I can't really unpack. I mean, this is the spare room. I can't really unpack my house and get everything as it's going to be until those shelves are up. So here we go. That was very rambly, but then I probably would have done a better job if I'd sat and written this, to be honest. But I thought I'd make it as a video because I've seen so many videos about the topic of overconsumption of books. They usually do it in reference to book talk. I don't use TikTok, and to be honest, I don't really follow many book people. I don't follow any book people on YouTube, partly because they tend not to read the kind of books I like, and they'll be reviewing just books I have no interest in or what have you. But also, yeah, that kind of overconsumption is a bit funny, where they buy like 60 volumes of the same book. Now, I do have multiple volumes of a few things. I've got about 3 sentimental journeys because the different illustrations in them. What else do I have multiple copies of? I have 2 abridgments of Johnson's dictionary, because one, I can't get a real Johnson's dictionary. They don't, even the facsimiles are over £1,000, and that is too much. So I've got 2 abridgments, and they sort of fill in the gaps of each other. But then again, to be honest, the whole of Johnson's dictionary is online and is searchable, so I just tend to have a little browse through that when I fancy it as entertainment rather than using it. I mean, how much you can use a 300-year-old dictionary is another thing. They use it in the American Supreme Court to work out what the Constitution might have said. It's quite interesting. Anyway, yeah, I'm rambling now. The gist of it is, yes, I've always had a bit of an over-consuming thing. I've got too many DVDs. I've got too many CDs. I've got all kinds of little tchotchkes and knickknacks and pictures and paintings and prints and books. But I hope, even with the large amount that are here, I hope it's not. I'd hate to think of myself as an overly material person, but then I'm surrounded by material possessions and I bought a whole house to put them in, so maybe I am. Maybe I'm more affected by the waves of, corporate whatever than I like to think I am. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to get back on this. Have fun.